Welcome to another episode of Lifestyle After Five. It's
We
your
back.
host, Ali and Lord Shu. As if you've seen our previous episode, as we talked about exploring futurism with Richard Brankowski. He's back to start this 29 episode series with us as we dive deep into unveiling what tomorrow brings. I like his corn phrase, people of color will be here in the future. And Richard is going to break things down. I mean, he got some amazing things to share as we go through this journey. So make sure you tune in, like, and subscribe. You do not want to miss a single episode. This man brings a lot of wealth of knowledge. So welcome back, Richard from
Thank you,
Castle.
Ali. Thank you, Thank you.
We got to start calling him Richard Normus B. Y'all see his rap name? That's his rapper name, yo.
Yes. Please address me by my correct rap name, sir.
Richard Normus. Rich Normus is what we do. So today we're diving into the world of futurism, what it is, what it comes from, and what it means. Because we kind of gave in the last episode, we kind of went all over the places. We gave a broad definition. We covered a lot of topics that was included into futurism. So basically today we just want to nail it down as to what is futurism, Rich Normus B.
Thank you very much for my correct name. Thank you, Ali. Yes. So futurism started actually in the 1900s as an artistic and social movement that emphasized like speed and technology and more about kind of rejection of the current kind of artistic flows, the current political movements, so kind of thing like that. So it has kind of evolved more into the modern context of it is taking information today and making predictions about what the future would be, using various different methodologies and tools and trends. By definition, it's meant to be bold. It's meant to be obviously somewhat exaggerated from what we understand things today, because it is kind of a push, into what the future might hold or might be. But it is powered by imagination, speculation. There is data, but it, by definition, it always has to be grounded, with, grounded with original thought, or with analysis, and sometimes just common sense.
Okay. So I know before we started recording this, you mentioned future thinking, like the framework of it. So can you kind of expand on that too, so people can kind of just know where to start?
Right. Yeah. So future thinking, takes that obviously to the next step when it comes to the ability to start making actionable, plans on it. Right. It's not just a concept.
Yeah.
So it's much more systematic, much more analytic, types of thinking for potential futures. All right. There's always, again, some type of goal, right? Futurism and futurists usually do things within 5 and 10 year increments as when they're doing their predictions, and future thinking involves a lot of methodology like scenario planning, trend analysis, strategic forecasting kind of in general. But its aim is to prepare individuals or organizations, for multiple future outcomes. That's why my tag is, futures with an S, right? Because it's not finished yet, right? It's still kind of going. It's going to be more than one. I would never come up with just one, kind of point.
One single future, yeah.
Yeah. Or again, using those methodologies to come up with, just, or a different one, or kind of. It emphasizes, adaptability, and also like resilience into uncertain times, in certain places. Let's see, it's a lot of future thinking is used for product development, for business policy making, and more I think it like always, it should be like there's an aspect of personal development in futurism as well, because you are that act. You are part of it. So yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, Rich, when you talked about personal development, because when I think of futurism, futurists, I think of people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. The common person doesn't come to mind when it comes to being a futurist. But so that begs my question: can a common person, or let me restate that question. Why should the common person be interested in becoming a futurist and futurism?
All right. So there's basically two things. One, your job, your country, and kind of other thing don't care about kind of what you're
Mhm.
doing, right? You are
Mhm.
responsible for what you're doing and what you're going to be doing in the near future, right?
Mhm.
So it has to be like a personal, again, responsibility, when it comes to what you're doing. And it also kind of leads into the kind of constant need for development and learning. You're
Mhm.
one part of future thinking, one part of futurism is that you're always learning. You're always looking at different, you're always trying to
Mhm.
research something, this and that, and
Mhm.
the the vitalness of futurism and future thinking now is because nothing's the same. There isn't, we can use the past, and again, I'm now going to ask you to look, as yourself, right? So your
Mhm.
past, right? Where things kind of what worked, what didn't work, right? But
Mhm.
the future doesn't. Our current future, definitely the way technologies and again cultural changes and all the other doesn't it doesn't fit into the past, right? The future thinking and stuff like that. There's just there's a quote, or actually, I think it's a name of another futurist that I speak to and follow. It's like the future doesn't fit into past containers, right?
Mhm.
So there's a lot of things that we're going to be talking about, or a lot of things that are currently being thrust on people that they have no reference to even kind of get an idea about what they should be doing.
So,
Um,
would you agree? It's kind of been my observation that a lot of people like to hold on, and it's just the opposite. A lot of people like to hold on to the past. They think about past. Like if you look into the political climate that we got going there, here it is, all these technologies, self-driving cars, and you still got people asking for manufacturing and coal mining jobs to come back.
isn't that sad, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
Yeah,
that
it's kind of
and
crazy.
almost scary, right?
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. So there is again, another big part of future thinking is, the encouragement of long-term planning and decision making, right? So it's the long game. We all have short games that we're all, playing right now.
Right.
But if you don't have a long game for yourself, right, or for your family, or again for
mhm.
your company, or then you're cutting out a lot. And so yeah, I mean, AI is obviously kind of pushed a lot of thinking in that, but again, and all the different technologies and the speed of technology, which is I think a lot of people don't realize, and kind of go there. But personal choice. If you want to stay behind, and kind of watch kind of everything move forward, that's not who it's not who I am, and I know it's not a lot of the people who I spend. It's clearly not you guys, right? But
Yeah.
so you can either be static or dynamic, right? And static is good. There's there's room for it.
It's called poverty.
Right?
It's called unemployment. It's called poverty. It's called hard times and
Yeah,
making your life more difficult than ever. That's what static is called.
right. The when people come to me for career advice, and after I do a little background check on them, just do you know what I tell them, and I think this is probably 75% of the advice I give them, is that everyone will, in the near, within the next 5 years, will have to invent your job. There's not going to be any title or kind of anything like that, going on. Like
Hmm.
they don't fit your skill sets anymore. What companies need, they
Say that again. Say that again,
companies,
Rich. That's a
need
moment. Take a pen and paper and write that down.
Woo!
People need
Moment.
say that
Moment.
again. Say that again. That's a moment.
Right.
You have to
I'll say, okay.
reinvent your
The
job.
shorter version of that is that in the future, you are going to have to invent your own job. That job just
Wow.
doesn't exist. That's the past. You know, the guy who used to deliver milk, in the 20s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. That's an obvious one, right? But we can kind of, again, we could identify opportunities, right? And more importantly, measure risk on that potential scenario that you're going down. So future thinking and futurism all kind of, those concepts all deal with obviously the future, but it's structured, that it's practical. It could be, and more importantly, it's creative and has vision. We need all of that, going on now. And people call it like a pseudoscience, which I guess it is, right? But but it employs tools, right? Employs
Exactly.
methodology. I mean, this is kind of how in some forms a version of just decision making. You know, and again, do I want to drive off this cliff or do I want to turn around? Right? Again, it's your decision. But
I don't see how futurism could be considered a pseudoscience. I mean, we are moving into the future every day. Things have changed, and whether you like it or not, the Earth keeps spinning.
Yeah. Well, I guess the definition of like for future for pseudoscience and science is that science you know likes to be able to measure and predict, measure, and test outcomes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so you can't kind of really do that with futurism because
Yeah.
and you can do some of it, right? But you can't test the outcome. You can't do anything. You can't. But there are aspects of that in there, right? You know, uh,
I think you can't measure the future, but I think you can measure the progress that you have made as you have moved forward in the future.
yeah, both with yourself. That's trend and
Mhm.
trend analysis. Kind of
Yeah.
what in one version of it. Um, and again, some of it I find, again, is something kind of common sense, right? Like, if if I try to go through this door 10 times and it's locked, probably doesn't make any sense for me to keep on, I'm going to go try to find another door, or more importantly, going to make my own door, right? Going to knock down another piece of wall or kind of something like that. So, but but there is a lot of methodology in it. There is a lot of, kind of learning, and there's a lot of common sense, and it's not never. I guess it might never really be finished, because the first rule about it is just kind of forget about predictions. Like I will, I make forecasts. We make forecasts, but I'm never gonna say or no sane person is going to say 100% that this is going to happen and happen. We use
Mhm.
models. I think 85% chance or 50% of chance, right? And then if I know that it's 85% of chance for me to do something, or that's where I'm going to put my time and give something else 20% of time. And so there's like there are all those parts on how you kind of start to incorporate that in here. But I like futurism and future thinking, and especially when it comes to the kind of look back to look forward is a big, one of the like kind of number 3 on the list of things. And for some people, it's breaking like they had family traditions, right?
Yeah.
Like my father was
Yeah.
an alcoholic, right?
Mhm.
I saw that, watched it. I saw back how it affected his life and how it affected his family and how it affected his job and all that, right? So, pretty easy for me, or at least it looked like it was pretty easy for me to, not go down that road. I may
Right.
have, an internal tendency, for alcohol, but, it didn't work. I kind of see, I watch it, I kind of see it around. I'm
Mhm.
not against alcohol or whatever like that, but, it's not a huge thing in my future. Let's just say.
I like how you bring all that together, man. It's really the frameworks is for right now, but also can build up to be more of a look into ethics, because now we're talking about technology and personal advancement, and they kind of go hand in hand. So, what is your take on I guess like how do we balance technology with ethics? Like how can that work in the future using this framework?
Well, one, it just to know that it exists, right? That it's not just, we're not blindly following, certain directions or certain things that we had seen in the past, or did in the past, we didn't know any better. Ethics is, another version is like, do we even have the right to do this, or is it going on here, or can it be used against us in some, kind of in some form. So like, so there's the balance is never, they're new, so we don't know, right? And so in some forms in ethics, we'll have some bumps, like kind of on the road, right? A big topic for ethics is the use of automatic or artificially intelligent guided weapons, right? That comes up a lot, obviously. So there is no longer a human behind it making those kind of decisions. We've kind of told it everything it needs to do, right? But there will be, and it's going to follow our rules, but our rules don't always kind of make, don't make sense as well too. And are we taking away responsibility? So it's there's never really like a strong correlation. Like if I do kind of 50-50, but what it's important is just to note that it's there, right? That note that we need to address it, even though whatever, we don't know what it might be. So it's I don't know if I did a kind of really good job about it, but there's a humanistic aspect to it that would work best for everyone if we addressed it first. If we got it out of the way, right? We kind of used our imagination or predicted to say, how this is going to work, how that's going to work, and then make the course corrections, make the and then go on. So in ethics world, we all know we're going to hit a wall somewhere, or we're going to hurt somebody somewhere, unintentionally. But it
just comes with it.
But if we can figure it out, right, and then beforehand, we can we can save a lot of pain and grief.
Now, Rich, let's back up a little bit. We talk about futurism as if it's just something that just happened today, but in following some of your work, I believe you stated that futurism started back in the early 20th century, and I believe you gave some examples of H.G. Wells and Isaac Asimov. I may not be pronouncing that right. Asimov, yeah, and the works that shaped the public perceptions of the future. Can you talk a little bit about that history?
Right. Well, that goes into again, one of the main categories, and again, very powerful one is like, for at least for those two writers, kind of back then, was is science fiction. Because science fiction, allows for the non-adherence to strict rules, right? So again, flying to the moon, or again, digging in the ground, or and again, that is why I focus a lot of my intention, or at least a fifth of my intention, on science fiction. Is this story already out there? Has somebody already been working on it? Is it what was behind it? As I mentioned, and I do again. I'm not answering your question about like when it all happened, like, and again, the 19th, the 19th century into the early 20th century, but it's more of it. But it started as we're not happy the way things are going, right? And we are going to, at least kind of change, on way that we're going to be measuring things, looking at things, or where we want to be, right? I don't want to be where, I was told, we're in the 19th century, because we mostly all kind of came from, your grandfather was a farmer, your father was a farmer, there's a good chance you're going to be a farmer, right? It's like,
right.
There were like all these like old rules that were kind of written that don't apply anymore, or you don't want to be part of it, but you just can't walk away, turn around and say nothing, and so the futurism, kind of built, built out of unhappiness, of its current system. Another kind of cool thing to know is, like, there's the Chinese word for crisis is Ouija, right? And so we means crisis, but G means opportunity. So there's, always, the way the word by definition kind of works out in Japanese is that there's always like an opportunity that rise from crises. Right. And I think that's like a really good way if you want to look at like how like the kind of like the development or kind of how people think or see about unhappiness.
I wonder, is there a correlation between that and the Ouija board?
I don't think the Chinese had the Ouija board. Yeah, I think that's a Western thing.
I would not advise using the Ouija board.
Why? What do you got against?
I'm very futuristic.
Yeah.
Well, but if you want to look at it, it's a tool, right? If you're going to be using metaphysics, right, instead of futurism, you go to the Ouija board, use a little tarot cards, right, and
use
kind of see
risk.
What's popping up there.
Shout out to metaphysics.
Well, again, why close that out, right? I learned a lot about metaphysics, from my futurism.
Yeah. Metaphysics, yes. Ouija boards, use at your own risk. I'm not a fan. Love metaphysics. Not a fan of the Ouija board.
Yeah, the other part about Ouija board, it's made by like Mattel.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, they
set
bought
up.
it, right? Yeah, so it's like, I could either play, Monopoly or Ouija, but it's fun.
Going crazy.
Yeah,
it's like
again, it's that other it's like that other idea, the other thing, it's like, still there's something there, like.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. So hopefully I answered your question, kind of about.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. And again, all these principles, ideas of future thinking, then even kind of thriving, during unknown times. Futurism gives you even kind of something to hold on, something tangible, while you're trying to kind of figure all these things out. It's about giving you power.
Well, it seems a little more scientific in today's world, where we got data science, we got analytics, and it seems that futurism is evolving at a very fast rate right now. Would you agree?
Well, I'm going to say the tools that you just mentioned and methodologies, definitely there, definitely here, definitely useful, definitely kind of thing. But I don't think the regular person or the regular company is using any of those things to try to figure out the past, try to figure out the future. What data and data analysis and stuff like that will give you is a good understanding about the past. And again, that's useful information, right? Because there's no data on the future, right? So if you're stuck as a data person, that you won't make a move until you've kind of ran everything. You're going to be stuck. You can't do nothing. You can't think outside that way. Again,
some say the past will predict the future.
That is true. Again, and we can kind of skip to that part. They always say like future. I mean, history repeats itself is a very big part of that part. But it's not 100% true on that. It's more like trends of the past repeat themselves. So and as I was saying, it's actually a very important part, or at least again of kind of like the basics of future thinking. But it's not kind of alone. It's not multimodal, right? You wouldn't just use that to go there. But really, to answer your questions, I don't see in general, and again, I just think maybe because we haven't had the time, or maybe we just didn't have the need, everything was kind of going well. Everyone thought everyone would be kind of going, you know, everyone would be following the rules that we were told that were going to work, like, stay out of trouble, keep your head down in school, graduate, get your job, have your family, retire. They don't exist. that doesn't exist.
Mhm.
I mean, so that's a past thing, right? And
Mhm.
in the past you can kind of use that, but the trends, kind of that you kind of see and we kind of keep seeing over and over again, you could use it in your favor. uh, you know uh, but there, that, I feel like there's a human part of that, like just as a humans, we do the same things, like we're all heading in the same direction regardless of what we, if we know it or not. There's just certain things that, we need ladders because we have 2 feet, right? So it's, so it's kind of, I don't know if I kind of, might have been a bad example, but yeah. So there are parts of the past that repeat itself. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be all of the past.
Mhm.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. This been a great episode because just from listening to you talk today, basically the future is laying itself out for it to be created essentially from right now. Even though, like you said, there's some pieces that we can take into the future. Really, it's like free game. Anybody can just take your framework, take the future thinking framework, and then just essentially create whatever they want this to look like.
And bringing your own personality to it, like bringing your own passions, like that. Yeah, and there's that really important part about it.
Yeah.
Is like it we can't do what we used to do before, right? And then so everyone is like has a little bit of the future in them, and so if we get them all together, we can start to kind of piece that
Then
together.
it can be like a community
I,
building.
I'm glad you said that because that was going to be my next question, because there's futurism and then there's Afrofuturism. And I just want to know, do you think there will ever be a point where the two combine to just become futurism?
A great question. I'm gonna have to get, let me kind of work on that a little bit, because that means like that's there, right? When we're all there, all of us, right? Where it doesn't make, it makes no difference. Kind of like, again,
Exactly.
Some of the myopic aspects of what goes on, in the world, and
Mhm.
and but also like of my past, right? So a lot of Afrofuturism reflects back on, the past of, of Black lives, right? I'm obviously never going to be able to kind of, know that, understand that and stuff. I want to, and I spend a lot of time, reading about it, thinking about it, and again, applying it to the future, right? But so like, I hope, in 500 years, all that's gone away, right? When all that, we're all on that same chart, we're all heading the same direction. We, the stuff we don't remember, it doesn't help us, like we don't listen, almost like old, like genres, like 1920s music, 1930s music. Nobody wants it, nobody cares about it, like in some forms, because it's all kind of gone. It's all with those dead people in the past. We're doing future kind of things,
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I look forward to that day. Yes, that it makes that we're all using the same like versions of futurism and stuff like that, and like the old parts, the things that always kind of got in our way, and whatever like that, like racism and poverty and all that other, uh, that all kind of it's just some kind of lost memory, kind of in the back. But I did want to kind of mention something like, here's a great example using science fiction, for that. In Star Trek, which I'm going to reference a lot because, that is one of the more, probably the only positive, futuristic, entertainment that's kind of out there. And I don't know if you know about it, or how much of the show that but there's, where people get their food, from, right? It's a kind of food replicator, right?
Mhm.
So you basically, it's a kind of a program, it's, very, the 3D printers that we have these days, which is again amazing and do amazing things, will be like kind of what the food replicator is. You give it a formula, kind of a chart, a formula, or kind of something like that, and it just goes and makes it, right? But it doesn't, but eventually in the future, it also makes medicine, right? It also makes water. It also makes everything, right? So the turning point in like the Star Trek future world was when the replicator came, right? Because when the replicator came, poverty went away, despair went away,
Right.
uncertainty went away. All of that. Everyone had enough to kind of go on. Everybody was equal. Everyone had kind of going there. And then when that all happens, we have nothing better to do but to take it to the next level, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of where I like to see futurism and all of us go. Is that we kind of get rid of all that bottom shit, crap, and stuff like that, and we're all like focusing on more important things, or better things to help the next level, or do whatever you kind of want to go in there. But
Wow.
just to bring things back into the kind of the community part, and again, all futurism, as I've said this 100 times, has to it has to be positive, right?
Yes.
And then it has to have a component to community. It just doesn't work. It's just not. You're not using it all. You're not using it all on the same pistons and stuff like that. And even in this aspect, the three of us are in kind of a new community talking about futurism. Kind of talking about what we have seen, what we have learned. More importantly, sharing it amongst ourselves so we can kind of adjust ours. It's not real futurism if there isn't a community. If there isn't kind of a community goal to it. And the fact that there's a if you want to put it in there, that's the also part about the whole diversity aspect of it. We need to get other let's just say experts involved in our decision making, and and an expert is whatever you're an expert to, right? So it has to be a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different topics, different demographics, economics, people with different understandings of technology, different understandings of all new things that are going on, right? You need young people's perspectives on this, and you need older people's perspectives on this, right? And and again, this is what inspired me about Afrofuturism. And again, in the language that I have used, is that there are going to be Black people in the future, right? And if you're not thinking that way, right, and if you're working on something and that's not even considered, right? Not even considered, but then you don't have a representative of those communities or that community working on your future scenario. It's not futurism.
Wow, that's a big one there. That's a handful there.
I don't get the noise for that one. The write down.
The Jamaican club horns.
There
We
you
in the
go.
Jamaican club horns.
We
You get the horns on that one. You get the horns on that one.
We need everybody. Yeah, we need everybody. As I'm saying, it's not and again, it might be obvious to thinkers like us, right? But there's not a lot of that going on, right? And just to have a futurist remind you of that is my work will then be done.
Well, Rich Normus B, you've done an awesome job giving us the introduction into futurism and taking them through the history of it. I can definitely now understand and hope the listeners can understand what futurism is and why it is important to us now as well as moving forward in the future. If you made it this far and listen to us, like and subscribe so therefore you can check the next episode when Rich talks about the digital culture and its impact on modern society. So you don't want to miss that. So go ahead, click the like button and subscribe. That way you'll be alerted next time Rich comes with another episode.
We need that. We need you. We need you to come in. We need your feedback. We need you to share your thoughts. You need to hear our thoughts. Got to be part of
them in the comments.
Yeah, keep the conversation going. Put in the comments and we'll answer your questions with Rich in the comments.
He official. He know what he's talking about.
Or, and again, there's always, I'd like to, there's another kind of, if you needed like a trick or something about when you have finally figured out where you want to be or what that goal is or kind of something like that, if you take anything away from this, you never come back, for some strange reason. You know, it's like it's to like kind of think backwards from your goal, right? So, you know, I know, you know, a lot of goals for a lot of companies, you know, that I'm dealing with when it comes to like, will their products, will they be relevant, you know, or kind of something like that, or go and, you know, go to that spot, go to that 10-year future, right? And, you know, make it real. And again, there's ways that we can do that. And then figure out what you got to do to get to that last, you know, so it's kind of working backwards, right? It's like, you ever do those mazes, right? And you have to start and finish, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a lot easier to get from the finish, right? And then kind of find your way to the start. Very same thing like that. And then what you will find if you take that out is, you know, kind of usually kind of goes from, you know, I need to, you know, we need to change, like, say, like the political environment for it to understand or whatever like that, that we want to continue to have, you know, free lunches or something kind of like in school, or, you know, so you just kind of, if you take that, kind of go back one more, and how do we get the political people to get in mind? That means you have to kind of organize and, you know, kind of get that part through, and it means you need to, you know, get people to rally and understand those kind of first questions so they can kind of tell their political people, so we can kind of change the laws, you know, so we can kind of get to there, right? So again, quick hint, work backwards if you have to do it.
Cool. Well, we definitely thank you, Rick. This has definitely been inspiring. To everybody that's out there watching, like I said, like, subscribe, and thank you for joining us on this journey into the future. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Peace out, y'all.